Hello, you're listening to the Nii Lamptey Show. My name is Joey, and I'm joined by Paul.
All right, mate.
And with Neil sunning himself in the Lake District this week, we've got Laurie to talk about Stevenage and Lincoln. Please correct me if those were the incorrect games.
No, those are correct. Hi.
Fan, Dabby, Dozy. We've got a packed pod tonight, so let's get straight into moments of the week. Paul, what are you going to go for?
I've got two. One is my general hatred of Laurie. I mean, I've been to, 5 of the last 8 games and seen 1 goal. He's been to about 3 of the last 8 and seen 5. How's that even fair? And my second moment of the week is, obviously, up until Jody Jones got injured against Stevenage, on Saturday we were going to play 4-4-1-1 or whatever the formation is. When Jody Jones went down injured, that didn't mean the best thing to do for the game on Saturday was then change to 3-4-3. It was a stupid decision to make, and it looked horrendous. It looked like they hadn't trained it. From what I understand, they hadn't really trained it. And you just think, what are you doing? And it's just baffles me why managers make these sweeping changes within 3 days to a system they haven't trained and expect the players just to automatically pick it up. It's just bizarre.
I'm not sure you heard Joey's question correctly, though, Paul. Moment of the week.
Well, yeah.
Moment of the week is the fact that he played 3-4. Because I read it and someone went, someone's been listening. You know, I advocate 3-5-2. That's fine, but my 3-5-2 means we now train it every day until we next play. But we don't try it on a whim because a player gets injured, and we have one training session to try and organise an entire team. Plus, 3-4-3 is just bizarre. With you 3 up front, McNulty, Nason, and Bevan. It didn't look like it worked. And the back,
I think you're somewhat missing the point that he was making, Laurie. To your point, the moment of the week as a literal concept, that ship sailed quite some time ago. It's now anything of the period of time since we last did a podcast that can be either a moment, a concept, a feeling, but in lieu of coming up with something more vague, it's basically, for Paul, it's what ground your gears this week. For Neil, it's what awkward social interaction did you have at a football match this week. For me, it's
so
what
I can
either...
stop panicking at the start of every episode, then.
Yeah, I mean, it's bollocks. It's just what's it. Most of the time, I don't think any of us have given it any thought before we've actually started recording. So with that in mind, what is your vague construct of the week?
Mine's a definitive moment. So on Saturday, I didn't go to the game. I went to Margate FC's home game against someone ridiculous like Tipton Town in the second qualifying FA Trophy. And I was listening to the I Follow of the Cov game. And when we equalised, I obviously went weirdly crazy. But I was alone on a terrace with about kind of 4 people, one of whom was behind me and had a dog. And I was celebrating and then kind of checked myself and then turned around and this guy was just staring at me like I think he'd gone out for a throw-in to Margate or something. He was just like, didn't say anything, but obviously thinking, who have I found someone even weirder than me at this game? And that was me. But it was a massive relief for us to have equalised, so that was my moment.
Lovely stuff. I want to talk to you, moment of the week, less a moment than a garment so fine that it's fit for a king, and a garment that you may well think, surely a garment of this quality would cost the earth. It wouldn't. Are
you surrounded by cans of Pepsi?
Yeah, and I'm using them to stop oppression. I think what I've done there is a technique or device that creates suspense. And now what I'm going to do is alleviate that suspense by revealing that what I'm talking about are Nii Lamptey T-shirts that are available from a website called Street Shirts. And whilst I've been talking, I've been trying to find the actual link for it, but I can't. So
this is shameless. This is a new low, even for us. This is a new low.
This is where we've sunk to. This is the exact moment where we sold out. Yeah, look, people asked us to do T-shirts, And we've done it with like minimum hassle or fuss, so that we didn't have to put a load of money into it or any effort. And now they're less than a tenner, I think. And I got mine, and it's fine. I mean, it's not it's not a great T-shirt, but it's fine.
The pic was good. The pic was good. You looked lovely.
It's the shape of a T-shirt. What more do you want? And it's blue, and it's got our logo on it. And like I say, if you get in there now, I think actually, temporarily, they should be £12. I think there's a deal on their website now where if you get in there, it's 30%.
Cyber Monday.
30% off. 30% off. That's more than 10. It's more than 20. In fact,
What
put them numbers
reaction are
together.
you envisaging getting from the terraces when you wear this to a game?
You what?
What reaction are you imagining that you're going to get from the kind of hordes of COF fans? Do you think people are going to come up to you and be like,
Are you talking about the reaction that I'll get, or the other 5 people that have bought a T-shirt so far?
Just anyone. Like, if I saw someone wearing it, obviously I'd be like, what a
gimmer.
freak.
Laurie, I reckon if you spotted one, you'd walk up with a pen going, do you know who I am? I can sign that for you.
Yeah. I'll tell you.
It might only be a tenner now. Once I've signed it on eBay, it's going to be at least 11 quid.
Yeah. I'll tell you for now what sort of reaction I expect, and was able to, in fact, preempt. Because rather than just having the Nii Lamptey Show logo on the front, I've also written underneath it the Coventry City podcast, knowing full well that nobody will know what the Nii Lamptey Show is. And I'm hoping that that people will see it and go, oh, I didn't know that thing that had been out for 6 years, that I listened to once and hated and have never gone back to, existed. I'll give that a listen. And then they'll find Andy Turner's Telegraph podcast and never find us again. But, you know, it's a worthwhile enterprise.
I think we should have a Christmas, Christmas competition and give one of them away. I think that would be a nice thing for us to do.
Okay.
We'll think of a question, and you can either have it signed or unsigned. Probably want the latter. And
if we got it signed, we'll
think of a question, and we'll send. Someone can win it before Christmas, and we'll happily buy one for whoever wins it.
Can we do not signed? Because if we did signed, we'd have to buy it, have it sent to one of our houses, then we'd have to sign it and then post it to the other the other guys. It's going to cost us a fortune.
I was hoping that we'd sort of just give it to them, sort of at the neck. You know, have a proper. Maybe we could contact the club, see if we can hand it over on the pitch during the next home game.
Oh my God! Who's shameless now?
I think we should give one away and then.
Oh,
So we should tell someone if one of us sees anyone wearing them at a game, we will all give them £20 just for advertising the brand, obviously, but also for being a certified loser. So that might actually get people involved. That could go viral.
I read years ago. I read a book about the Stone Roses, and they apparently had got their manager at the time stood on Market Street in Manchester, giving out, when they were like nobody, when they were very first out and about, giving out Stone Roses T-shirts to fit people. He was just giving them out to people that were sexy, and they were them cool. You know, what did John Squire's art look like? What's that artist with all the fucking shit?
Pollock.
Yeah, there you go. It was all that on the T-shirts. So they give them to sexy people, and then they got seen wearing them, and then people were like, oh, who are the Stone Roses that all these sexy people are doing? I think you can see where I'm going with this. I'm going out on the streets of Coventry. All of the sexiest people in Coventry. Get yourself a free Nii Lamptey Show T-shirt.
Don't take too many.
No, I won't need to. I don't know if I know we're way off topic here. Did I ever tell you once that when I got off the train at Cov train station, this is the God's honest truth, I don't even know whether to say this because it's quite offensive. I actually I came out of the train station, walked towards town, and I saw somebody in a wheelchair being pulled along on a lead.
Oh my God.
I think we might need to cut this particular section.
And I remember thinking, home sweet home.
Before we alienate the 4 or 5 people who do listen to the show.
That's a true story. That's a real thing that I saw happen.
I think you've actually told me that before, to be honest. I think you need a few more stories, Joe, but that's a bloody good one.
Right, let's talk about some football. Lincoln's first up, isn't it? I want to introduce this
in March.
Yeah, quite a while ago. I hope you've brought your notepad. I want to introduce this before I throw it over to you, Laurie, and from a direct quote from our mutual friend Jack, who after the game said, "We went to Sincil Bank and we deposited 2 goals and withdrew 3 points," which is which I thought was a really lovely thing. Perhaps you could give us some more actual detail rather than just hilarious witticisms based on a bank.
Yeah, nothing hilarious, don't worry. So, yeah, kind of dredging my memory. Their manager at the end of the game said that something along the lines of losing to us had shown him how far they'd come as a team. And that kind of blew my mind. I was like, is that what people think about us? Like, losing to us. They can always justify it in their mind because we're like a big team. But it really didn't feel like that in the first half. Even though we kind of started relatively well. Tom Davies came in, who I was really impressed with for the whole game. Jordan Willis went out to right back. McNulty and Biamu were up front. Shipley came into the midfield. And the first thing we did was Ryan Haynes showed why he's so important. He got to the byline, pulled back across. We didn't score. And that first half, we didn't play as we want to play at all, whereas Robbins pretends that we want to play. We were just pumping long balls down the channels, McNulty chasing lost causes. Him and Biamu looked like they didn't really know each other as usual. That didn't mean we didn't create any chances. We still had a few here and there, but it was quite bitty. And when they scored, it was no real surprise. Kind of a cross came over from their right wing. Our defence had lost the big fatty, what's his name, Reed, and he slotted it in the far corner. It was a good finish. Jody Jones wasn't in the game whatsoever in the first half, but right at the end we managed to put a few things together. Ryan Haynes was at the heart of a few. Jody Jones got some dribbles in, and so it ended on quite a positive note. At half time I was thinking Lincoln are reasonably good at home, but we weren't completely out of the game. But I did feel a bit sorry for Mark McNulty, and obviously he kind of divides opinion because some people just think he's awful. I think when he gets the ball into feet, he's not actually that bad. But you just can't play long balls to him. You just cannot deal with them at all.
How would you get the best out of him?
We need a much better team overall. I think
good call.
I can see what Mark Robbins is saying when he says, "Oh, that hilarious comment he made in that Sky Blues Trust thing. Oh, he's adjusting to this level. He'd be much better suited to League One or the Championship." And that is a ridiculous thing to say. But I also think if we played the ball on the floor a lot more, if we were playing intelligent passes into his feet, he'd flourish a lot more than in the situation he's currently in, where for at least half of the game, and in this case, about 95% of the time he was on the pitch because he got pulled off in the 50th minute for Duckin's Nazon. He just isn't in the game because we don't give him the opportunity. But equally, our long balls weren't good long balls because Biamu wasn't in the game either. But yeah, I don't really know the answer to that question, Joey. I see enough from him that I think he's worth persevering with. And the finish this weekend was quite promising, even though I wasn't at the game. That did look like a good goal. Anyway, just to kind of rattle through, everything changed in the second half. Duckin's Nazon came on. First thing he did was got the ball into feet back to Cole, skinned his man, little pivot, and curled one, arrowing into the top right left-hand corner, and the keeper saved it. And everyone was like, okay, here we go, now we're going to start playing. Also, Ryan Haynes, I hate to rabbit on about him, but everyone says he can't defend. At the beginning of that half, he actually saved us from going 2-0 down. There was a 2-on-1 situation, a break for them, and he expertly marshalled their player into delaying his pass until the danger was gone. And I hate to say it, but Ryan Haynes is an excellent player. And then we started to play on the floor, and what do you know, things got a whole lot better. Jody was on the ball, and his equaliser was amazing. It was Jordan Shipley, who was on the left-hand side, clipped a nice lofted ball over to the right. Jody was he stood his men up, of which there were 3, and his men weren't blocking his route to goal, strangely. But in fairness, they probably think Jody Jones is good, but they probably don't think he's that good. And then he proved that he was, because he just cut in on that left-hand side and curled it into the bottom corner. It was absolutely brilliant, which silenced their pretty rowdy fans.
With that goal, I just think, who was it that we played? Was it Port Vale at home where we won 1-0 and he shoved it onto his left and had all the time in the world to take a shot? It's just think, if you're the manager, and he talked after the game, didn't he? Is it Crowley, isn't it? He said after the game, in Jones they've got one of the best players in the league. You'd get in afterwards and just be like, didn't I tell you about his left foot? Didn't we talk about this loads and loads? Don't let him shift it onto his left and have a shot. They just, like you say, they just seem to stand off him and give him the opportunity. And I thought the finish was excellent. But if you're that team, you just be like, isn't that like the main thing? They haven't got anybody else who scores any goals. Just don't let him hit shots off his left. That was the one thing I told you to do. You must just be so frustrated as a manager when you concede a goal like that against a team like us.
And I don't understand the point of doubling up on him. If you're going to double up on him, but kind of stand side to side with your fellow defender, so you're not blocking, stand actual side to side and block the goal so physically can't kick it at the goal. Instead, they were both admiring Jody Jones, as long as we look really hard at him, he won't be able to, wait, he's just, it's in. Yeah, I agree. There's not many jobs you have to do when you're playing against Coventry, but marking Jody Jones tight is number one on that list. But
just show him outside. It's not even like, oh, what can you do? Because he's going to do you either way. It's like, well, he's probably going to try and cut it onto his left arm shot, isn't he? And he's not. I know it's not Iron Robin where you're like, oh well, we knew, we just couldn't do anything. You're like, yeah, we love him, but he's still just Jody Jones, guys. I'm glad, obviously, that they didn't, but you looked at it. But then, actually, I'm probably being a bit churlish because I thought it was an excellent finish, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was. Yeah, one of the best we've seen this season.
I'm going to indulge you because I think you'd like to talk more about Ryan Haynes. I just want to go back to Haynes for a second. What do you do? Do you look to play him further forward now that Jones is injured, or do you play him at left back and tell him to bomb forward?
Well, I think now that Stokes has had his rest, because he did need to be dropped because he was having that awful spell, and I do really like Jordan Shipley, and we'll get onto that about the Stevenage game, but he isn't really a natural winger. He's a natural ball player, and he likes playing interesting forward-thinking passes, but he isn't particularly quick, and he's not going to beat a man, but he can almost beat a man with his delivery in some ways. So I still want Jordan Shipley in the team. It's just how we can fit that in. But yeah, I'd like to see Ryan Haynes further forward because everyone gives him so much. And in fairness, I have complete myopia when it comes to Ryan Haynes. I just don't see him being a bad defender. I spoke to someone after the game, and apparently Doyle had been at the sideline talking to Rob, screaming at Robbins, pointing at Ryan Haynes, being like, "Get him off," having been beaten another time by a attacker.
Really?
And he was just, yeah, really. That's what Rob Stevens said. He said that he could hear Doyle being like, "Get him off," and then moments later he did something great, so he had to kind of be quiet. But I just don't see that. And that's definitely me being biased, but he just adds so much going forward. The way he does that kind of drifting thing where he isn't even kind of being a show pony and skinning people. But I think that might be something to do with being at left back, because when you're attacking from left back, you actually have a lot more space in front of you. Because his favourite thing to do is play those 1-2s, into the feet of a striker or into the feet of a kind of attack. Not that we have any attacking midfielders, but someone who's accidentally wandered into the position of an attacking midfielder. And he plays that 1-2 and then he's free down the left. And that's his favourite thing to do. And he's always getting to the byline, pulling it back. But maybe if he was further forward, he'd be less able to do that. I would like to find out, though. And I really thought on Saturday that we weren't going to play 3-5-2. I thought we were going to play 3-4-3. I thought we were going to play 3-5-2. And I agree with Paul. We've got the players to play that system, but we don't have the time to play that system. So we're kind of trapped a little bit in that way. But yeah, I would like to see Ryan Haynes play on the left.
I'd play him on the left wing.
I'm
just purely because the fact that at the moment, if he gets the ball at left back, the amount of times he gets the ball on the halfway line, he's got so far to go before he's in a dangerous area. It's just, why not play him like 10 yards further forward, 20 yards, so he gets the ball already in a dangerous position instead of having to carry the ball into a dangerous position. The difference between him and everyone else virtually on that side is when he gets into a position to cross, his crosses are actually dangerous and they're well hit and they're into a dangerous area. If we had two or three other, if Grimmer had the distribution that Ryan Haynes had, then Grimmer wouldn't look quite as poor as he does at times. Because the last couple of games I've seen, looking forward a little bit, but Grimmer gets a lot of time and a lot of space on the wing, and his distribution, his crossing is not in the same league as Ryan Haynes. And Ryan Haynes has only been back fit for a couple of weeks, but already you can see he's just that ability to cross, pick a man out, or his balls into the box are just a class above everyone else in that side.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
I think more than anything else is who the bloody hell else do you put out there if it's not Ryan Haynes at the minute? But I think we were talking about it last season I think we'd said last season that we'd like to go into this season with him being out wide. There were points where you just saw him marauding forward. He's got that height and physicality to go with his pace that made Jacob Murphy so dangerous and difficult, didn't he? I'm not sure that there's a clever bit of work to be done to just focus heavily on making him that player, or at least giving him the best chance to be that player, because it's just so much more valuable and dangerous than if he was just a good left back, isn't it?
Well, as Jimbo succinctly put on Saturday, we need a left winger. We have a left winger who's playing left back. We have a left back on the bench who can play left back.
Who we all
Why
like,
not put the winger on the wing and put the left back at left back?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Because even from my rudimentary experience of playing football, I used to play left wing, and it's sometimes I would have to play left back, and all that happens when you get put at left back is you have to track back, and it's so boring. When you're on left midfield, you have so much less responsibility. You have license to go forward. You'll have your left back screaming at you, being like, "You need to cover your man," but I mean, someone else can probably do that if you don't do it. So I can see Ryan Haynes looking bored when he's defending, and he looks stressed out as well. He doesn't want to be there. But as soon as he's going forward, he's just oozing confidence, and that's exactly where he wants to be on the ball. That's my experience as a Premier League footballer. So,
but it's also the case of once you've won the ball back, if your best attacking winger or best attacking creative player is at left back, by the time he's got the ball, the opposition are normally already set. He's coming from a defensive position to get. If you play him on the left wing, if you turn the ball over quickly, he's normally then just going to be up against one defender instead of having to go past two or three. You're putting him in a stronger position to get the best out of him. And the more you see it, the more you just like, that guy's got to be played in an offensive position, because defensively, if we didn't have Stokes, then maybe they'll be like, oh, we don't have anyone else. But as we've got Stokes, who I think we all agree is solid enough. I agree he hasn't started the season well, but I think that's just a natural fit, unless you're going to play 3-5-2. But again, I think we can't play the way we did on Saturday. That 3-4-3 was a joke.
The only counter-argument to him being a bit deeper, and this is with the caveat that I would 100% play him in a more advanced role, but it's more a sort of a fractional argument about how far forward, is I think the thing for him, as I said, is that he's got that added physicality that I don't think a lot of quick players have got lower down the leagues. And you wonder whether, unless you've got the outrageous acceleration of someone like Gareth Bale, where you can just go from 0 to 60 straight away, you wonder whether actually, if he builds up a head of steam and gets that pace and that physicality going, whether actually it does benefit him to be starting his run from deeper, so that by the time he hits a defender, he's already going at full speed. Because I mean, any personal preference wise, I'm not fussed about someone getting past someone with step overs and everything. I just want blunt force trauma for beating men. I just want him to be running faster and harder than than someone else. But I guess this is a very, very, very minuscule argument that we're having here. Let's move on to Stevenage, unless you've got any final Lincoln thoughts.
Final Lincoln thoughts were they hit the bar soon after we had equalised. Our winning goal, which I haven't covered, was Jody missing 2 chances in a row and then Duckens slamming it in and celebrating in absolutely ridiculous fashion. Like, he just, every week he scores, he comes up with a new mode of narcissism that I hadn't even considered before. Where he, I'm sure you've seen it, takes his shirt off, basically is like brushing off people who are trying to congratulate him, and just holding his shirt in front of the Lincoln fans who have no idea who Nason is. And everyone else just gets bored of trying to celebrate with him, so they all kind of celebrate with themselves. And Duckens is there just smiling, completely delighted with himself, doesn't even care that none of his teammates are congratulating him anymore, and kind of ambles back to the touchline, safe in the knowledge he doesn't have to play against Stevenage on Tuesday night because he's just got a suspension.
He's a wicked maniac, isn't he? I really love a player like that. It's just such an absolute loose cannon.
He seems like, why?
He's 22, isn't he?
I think he's 23, 24.
Oh, he's 24?
Yeah, I mean, he's way too old to be doing dumb stuff like this, but I get the impression that he's just the sort of player that you couldn't tell anything to. He's just completely on his own. He's very much marching to the beat of his own drum, I think.
He's 23.
He's 23, yeah.
And the fact that it gets to stoppage time, they announce 6 minutes of stoppage time, everyone takes that like sharp intake of breath. The first thing Duckens does is, he's on the ball, he's dribbling. Do you want to go to the corner, Duckens? No way. No, je m'appelle no. And then just curls one at the top corner. You're like, what are you doing? And the keeper saves it, so it goes out for a corner, so he kind of gets away with it. But just what is in your mindset when you're doing that? You just keep the ball. Don't try and score the best goal of the season when we're already winning 2-1 in a very hard place to go. But we saw out the rest of the game relatively easily. Stevenage. Celeb spotting early on. Callum Wilson was allegedly in the crowd for the game.
Was he really?
Yeah, well, all the fans were singing about it. And because they were singing about it, I just sent a tweet as if I'd seen him, being like, Callum Wilson's in the stadium. And that got people excited. And someone else tweeted the same thing and got 200 retweets. But I don't even know if he was there. It was just a lad in a big coat. Okay. Corey Adai was definitely in the stand, though. So your favourite, Joey?
Did anybody who stood behind him have restricted view tickets?
Yeah, with that big lid, I can imagine it's quite hard to see. We made quite a good start. Biamu scored a really good goal, which was scratched off because it was offside, but I think it's the best goal he'll score all season. It was like a turn and kind of slightly sliced half volley that went into the bottom corner, but the ref said no.
I mean, it's possible that you could have redacted that sentence to "it's the goal he would have scored all season."
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to see another one, are we? It's almost Christmas. He's made his bed now.
Yeah. What else, Stephen?
Injury City. Kelly got injured. Callum Maycock came on, who I'm pretty sure no one was expecting to see play in that game, but kind of grew into it as the game went on. I was actually quite pleased with him by the end. He kind of looks a little bit like a lot like a motley school kid from like Grange Hill or something. Like, he hasn't got one of those trendy haircuts that like Ryan Haynes and Stevenson has. He's just got like his mum cuts his hair or something. So he just wanders around with these big, like, kind of shaggy locks.
Isn't he quite long as well?
Quite long?
Yeah, quite a tall fella, quite tall, skinny.
Yeah, he is quite a limbering, leggy guy. Doesn't look very strong. He looks like you could push him over quite easily. But
I'm thinking Adam Barton.
Yeah, he's like Adam Barton, not in a grow bag, just normal level of gangly. But he's a good enough player. Doyle was screaming at him a lot early on, but I think that's just because he was nervous about having this another piece of fresh meat next to him in centre midfield.
Can we quickly talk? Can we quickly talk about Doyle? I watched about a minute of the Sky Blue Trust thing with Robbins, and the bit that I saw was him talking about Doyle possibly getting involved in the backroom setup. Did anyone see it or any of this? No.
No. But doesn't everyone hate him?
Well, we happened to be sat behind Michael Brown at that Port Vale game, and all he did was he just him and his two assistants just screamed at the players like they just absolute lunatics. And you could just see that the players didn't like it. I just can't imagine Doyle as a productive manager. I just think about like Roy Keane, and Doyle has hardly ever been known for his sort of like expanse. I just think, at what point does he not just like tackle everyone and injure them in training and be like, well, I didn't want soft players anyway. I'm not sure that I mean, I love Doyle obviously, but I'm a little bit scared about him being a coach.
I saw a really good Doyle thing this week. Someone posted a picture of him in a pre-match picture. It's like they had the mascots, the ref, the other captain, and it's Doyle standing next to this gigantic Pudsey bear man. And Doyle has a look on his face that just looks like, if I wasn't on camera now, I would tear this bear's head off. This is disgusting that I'm made to look so foolish next to this bear. It's for charity, Michael. Just stand there. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, rest of the game. Our goal, again, no one had a clue what was going on. It's so far. Getting a bit bored of these League Two grounds, where if they're not shooting towards you, you just don't have a clue what's happening. So we scored at the opposite end, and it was one of those ones where cross came in from the corner, and it was just all over the place. And then Mark McNulty, can't believe his luck, just kind of knees one in, kind of punches Biamu first to make sure he knees in the 1 yard tap in. And we only knew it went in because of the net and all the players jumping on each other. Jordan Shipley was having an awful game. I started counting his misplaced passes, got to about 14 by half time. Burge, awful, weirdly. He's been so good this season, but he just started dropping things. He had this horrible moment where he was trying to watch a ball out of play, and it hit bounced off the corner flag, and their player was like closing in on him. But I think it bounced off the corner flag, then out of play, but he almost completely flopped it. Heard from somewhere that there were 19 scouts watching Jody Jones. Can't imagine who else they'd be watching, so it must all be Jody Jones. Our centre-backs were awful, distributionally that is. They didn't concede any goals, but they were back to their normal form in that sense. The front two, like they didn't know each other. It was more pumping forward, more non-football. We were kind of influenced by Stevenage as well, because Stevenage were a very bad team. Like they were pretty mediocre. I don't know how bad Crawley were on the weekend, but Stevenage were boring to watch. Biamu should have had a penalty. He was clean through, got chopped down. The ref said no, didn't even give a foul. And then we had our really big chance, which was Jody was through down the right, and he just got his head down, and McNulty was completely open in the centre, and presumably quite confident by this point. But Jody just waited that extra second, and then as soon as he realised, he tried to play it through to McNulty, but got intercepted. So that would have been 2-0, and we definitely would have won if we'd gone 2-0 up, because Stevenage did not have 2 goals in them. And then the Jody injury happened. He very innocuous, just kind of lofted tackle where he was going up for header, I think, and then fell awkwardly. Vincenti came on, he was awful. Stevenage's goal was reasonably neat. Again, it was down the other end. Nice finish. Someone wasn't marking their man. Pinged it in the top corner from quite close in. And then we had a final chance to win the game, which was Mark McNulty streaking down the wing, did exactly what Jody Jones should have done, which was set up Jordan Shipley, who was coming in at the far post. He was kind of about on the edge of the penalty box, sat up so nicely for him to volley, and he just connected too not well. I don't know. Whatever happened, it went just over the bar. But that was the moment that we could have won the game. And then added on time was quite scary, but we got through it. It was about 8 minutes of added time or something. But neither team really deserved to win. I don't think we can feel hard done by that we didn't win the game. And at that time, pre-Crawley was quite happy coming out of it with a draw with our recent away results. But yeah, it was a very cold and reasonably satisfactory evening in Stevenage.
Well, that's not a point. You probably would have expected the Lincoln result more to be a draw and the Stevenage result to be the victory, but 4 points from 2 away games is pretty
decent,
good,
yeah.
isn't it, really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's... And sort of someone moaned at me for being negative, and I know that's just, what would you expect? But the thing I took out of that was we came out... I was worried when Jones went off that Stevenage would get the upper hand, and it was like just a case of, let's get out of this with a draw, because a draw would keep us still in the top 7. And I think, the atmosphere would change, I think, if we dropped out the top 7. So we really needed to pick up those results after having some horrendous home results. So, you must have come away from the 2 games being pretty happy with things. If not the style of football, the performances, or anything else. But, you must have been sort of relatively happy that 4 points in any division from 2 away games is quite good going.
No, it was, I completely agree. It was good going. It was just frustrating because Stevenage were a worse team than us. But as soon as Jody Jones went off, Stevenage knew they could relax. It was bizarre. They, not bizarre at all, actually. It was completely logical. They knew they weren't going to be pressed, even though Jody wasn't massively in the game in the first half. That everyone knows about him, and it's kind of like the Ryan Kent thing. People are just that little bit more cautious of our entire team because they know Jody Jones is there, like a spring just waiting to hit them on the break. And as soon as he was off, and Vincenti, it was one of the worst performances I've seen by a Coventry player in a long time.
You're quite down on Vincenti at the moment, aren't you?
I'm underground on him. I'm so down on him. He's miserable. Paul said that last week that he wins ball in the air. I do not see him winning ball in the air, which I know you can't make a tall player the only thing they're there for is to win headers, but he can't do anything else. So he could at least try and win headers. Like he's got no confidence on the ball. He can't find anyone's feet. I just really would prefer to see anyone, Dion Kelly-Evans, people who are confident with the ball at their feet in the team, because he just makes me nervous because he's always giving it away and he doesn't look like he wants to be. I wouldn't want to be on the pitch if I was that horribly out of form.
I wonder.
We discussed this. Sorry.
Yeah, go on. Before you go.
We discussed this at the start of the season. He missed a lot of last season through injury, and it was always a case of how long would it take to him to get back to somewhere where he has been before. And my worry was that basically Keith Hill had him a long time, and because he was fit towards the end of last season, he just didn't really play him. And my worry was the fact that Keith Hill, being a very good judge of Vincenzi, didn't want him anymore. And someone corrected me and basically said that he asked to leave. And you sort of read it, and it was like Keith Hill basically said, well, I allowed him to leave because I couldn't offer him first-team football. And it's sort of it's the same sort of thing where basically he's just turned around and went, I just didn't fancy him anymore. If I'd have fancied him, I would have fought harder to keep him, but I just knew I wasn't going to use him. And you're watching him, and like the last home game, about 3 or 4 times, the ball just went through him out of play. Just not difficult. Balls you'd expect a professional football to be able to control and keep in play, just went straight past him. And you watch him, you just think, I think you might be done. And if you're not done, I'm not sure we've got the time to give you like the 10 games you might need to get back to anywhere, because he has had games this season, and the performance you saw is pretty common for what we're getting out of the guy. And as you say, if he's not even winning balls in the air, then you worry what you're going to get out of him at all.
I want to quickly sort of the devil's advocate case for the defence is, I just think if you look through his career, he was at Rochdale for ages, and then he was at Graham Wesley's Stevenage for a good period of time. And I wonder how much of a difference it makes if you are a player who is functional in a team that is looking to keep the ball in the air an awful lot and who is looking to play off lots and lots of flick-ons and to exploit a lot of set plays, which is what Rochdale and Stevenage, I mean, Wesley, I'm sure, would have wanted to do. I don't know whether then you can get dropped in a team who isn't really looking to exploit those explicitly and to try and bring that small, be the small element of that in the team. It's just completely different, isn't it? And I just think he's probably... either it's possible that there are no bad or good players, they are only as good as the context in which they're able to operate, or he is completely shit. But ultimately, it's not working for him, is it? I don't think. And I think that we can be a bit reductive when we talk about good or bad players. I think the more and more I think about it, the more it doesn't work for certain players at certain times. But the one thing that is abundantly clear is he is not he doesn't work, does he? It's just not his team, this team.
But you're making the sort of leap that we're a passing team.
No. I don't think that at all. But that we're not. But we don't. We're not Tony Pulis's Stoke, or we're not set up to be a big bullying team. Who that doesn't mean by sort of the reverse of it that we're a slight passing team. Actually, I think we're a little bit. What's the word? I think we're a little bit like faceless. I don't think we lack a bit of identity. I think that's part of our problem. I think we're sort of nominally defensively solid, but you couldn't really categorise our attacking play outside of give it to Jody Jones, could you?
No, and that's. I mean, did you ever on the old version of Champ Manager, you could be direct or a long ball team, and it was like, what's the difference? Well, direct is you're actually physically trying to aim for a target, and long ball is you're getting the ball at the back and you're just kicking it long.
Yeah.
And we are definitely at times very much the latter, where it's like, it don't matter where this ball goes, this ball's just not going to be here for much longer. And you're just like, and then suddenly we turn into a team who can sort of build a bit of passing play. And you're like, oh, okay, we aren't completely this one-dimensional sort of hit and hope side. There is something more there, but it seems so fits and starts. I mean, just on the Saturday game, most of the first half was just like aimless hit and hopes, and it's just like I don't see what the point of this is. I'm not sure what he's trying to achieve. And you're right. In those sort of instances, Vincenzi is completely sort of devoid of use. But yeah,
I just think I think we, even though it should be the most obvious thing in the world, what we're talking about is a team sport, isn't it? And I think the individual components of it, whilst there are sort of relative levels of good and bad, players are typically types of components, aren't they? And he is one that so abundantly doesn't fit. And I think we become quite frustrated with players like McNulty's a good example of it. I can't place McNulty. I can't work out exactly how best to play to his strengths. But that with Vincenzi, I think it's really clear how best he would operate. But we're not doing what would work for him. And so, conversely, he's not working for us at all. Shall we move fully on to Crawley in the interest of time?
Yeah.
Take it away.
Just seeing if Laurie had anything else to add for Stevenage.
No.
Okay. So as I said earlier, we saw the starting lineup and it was like, oh, okay, he's definitely playing three at the back, but he's also got McNulty, Bevan, and the Duck. So he's playing 3-4-3. This will be interesting. It really, really wasn't. It doesn't help that he had three players at the back in Willis, Davis, and McDonald. And what you really need when you're playing three at the back is one of them to be able to play or have as a strength the ability to play football. And
Jordan Willis wasn't capable of that, no?
Well, all I'm going to say
is that's the idea, isn't it? That one of them is like bringing the ball out and starting play, and the other two are sitting tight. That's my understanding of it.
Well, yeah, in the first half, one of Davis's first touch would have won him sort of the chance to bring his friends to watch the game from the executive box. It was that bad. And then he then followed that up by then scything the guy down because his first touch was so bad. And I've nothing against Davis, but on Saturday you were like, how are you there? What are your strengths? Because you're not really adding anything to this team. And then you had Jordan Willis doing what Jordan Willis does with the football, which just isn't worth discussing further. And McDonald, who normally likes to try and bring it out, but is also quite prone to just hacking it with his left foot to the right wing.
Yeah.
So that didn't really work. And then Grimmer didn't know what he was doing on the right wing. Haynes didn't really have much of a clue what he was doing on the left wing, because you need people to play around and off. And we had Shipley and Doyle in central midfield, which sounds as bad as just saying Shipley and Doyle playing central midfield. So that wasn't, they weren't helping the wing backs. And then up front, it was like, well, who's playing where? Who's doing what? What are we doing? Oh, we got 3 up front. Okay, but who's doing what? So Bevan went nominally through the middle, with the Duck sort of drifting left and sort of diagonally left behind him, and McNulty dropping nominally diagonally right behind him. And you were like, well, that isn't working, because those 3 don't know what they're doing. They don't know where to stand. They don't know when we're punting the ball forward. They don't stand next to each other. So this just isn't working. This clearly isn't working. And Crawley,
why did he not go for 3-5-2? I don't understand. He
explained this in the post-match interview. What he said was, and this is almost verbatim, I know we're not scoring goals, so I wanted more strikers on the pitch.
Oh, this is your thing about strikers don't cause goals.
Yeah, so you can have 3 strikers. You have Gary Lineker 3 times. One of the greatest finishers I've seen live. But the thing is with Gary Lineker is he scored chances that other players created. He was brilliant at it, but that's basically what he did. Was he gambled on balls, he chased things down, but his main ability was turn other people's crosses, balls through. Like, he made great runs. It was one of those things where, when we had Armstrong, sometimes it's like, is Armstrong making the player make the pass, or is the pass making Armstrong make the run? But it's one of the two. But most of the time, it's like that works. With Jim O'Brien and that sort of system, it works, where you had a player playing the ball through and the striker being intelligent enough to make the... With those 3 up front, it's like, who's providing the creativity? Who's feeding those 3 the chances to score goals? Because they're not going to do it to each other. And he's just like, oh, do I have to watch Bevan play again? I thought we'd been through this. He wasn't even in the squad the last couple of games. I thought we'd moved on from the Bevan.
When was his last appearance? I was pretty stunned to see him play.
It was a while ago. I mean, I think he scored 2 league goals for us, and one of them was on his debut. And that was in January. And you're just like, this. He doesn't score. Like, I don't know how to keep explaining. I saw somewhere gave him man of the match, and it's like, but
who was it? Robbins.
Yeah, it's like the whole point of Bevan. The whole point of being a striker is you make us look better in the final third, and he just doesn't. Like, we went off as soon as he went off, and Ponticelli came on. We looked far better because Ponticelli I don't know how far Ponticelli will go in the game, but there's definitely something about him where he finds space. He finds angles or locations to get in which make him difficult to mark. And suddenly things are happening because he's sort of making defenders think a bit more like, oh, where the hell's he gone? Oh, he's dragged wide. But he doesn't drag wide. He drags into like an awkward position where it's like the centre back and the full back are like, are you picking him up or am I picking him up? Shit. So just having someone with a bit more knowledge or sort of just a bit more thought about where I'm going to stand here, because it makes it slightly easier for me to get the ball, but also slightly more difficult for them to defend. Like, that doesn't enter anyone else of our striker's head. Like, it doesn't enter the Duck's head because he doesn't care. It's like, give me the ball anywhere and I'll just do what I do because I'm the Duck. McNulty, it's like some of his touches were awful in that game, and there's a couple of the highlights where the ball came to him just inside the penalty area, and it's like, hit it with your left foot. And he sort of tried to cut back from his left foot for his right foot. And it went about 4 foot away. And you were like, that's just rubbish. And I'm really glad he scored. And I'm glad he's scoring goals. But I think we have to make the break between him scoring goals and him playing well. He isn't playing well. He's scoring goals. That's fine. I accept that. Because I said at the start of the season, I don't care if we have someone who's shit who's scoring 20 goals. It doesn't matter. But let's not pretend that he's now suddenly playing really well. He really isn't, but he scored a good goal.
Did you see his quite chippy interview in the Telegraph?
I think he is that sort of guy. But also, as I said, what frustrated me most about the 3-4-3 system wasn't the fact it was bollocks, wasn't the fact that we clearly didn't train it, and we obviously didn't train it because the player, is the fact that Mark Robbins didn't come out at half time and go, or even I think Clive Eakin interviewed after the game and go, and just went, you just got that wrong, didn't you? If he'd have come out and go, look, I tried a different formation, it didn't work, I'm sorry. You'd be like, okay, at least you understood what you sort of put us through for 45 minutes. But it was like, wow, if we work harder on the training ground, it's like, well, but you got it wrong. It's like, you've clearly got this wrong. It didn't work. Crawley, who was shit, went 1-0 up. If Crawley had anything about them, like a desire to win the game, they'd have been 2-0 up at some point. Because at the start of the second half, we went back to, he took off Davis, brought on Ben Stevenson. You're like, finally, we got some. You can play 3-4-3 or 3, but whatever you need someone who's going to link it all together. From the defence to the strikers, you need someone on the pitch who is going to link the whole team. Whatever system you play, whatever formation you play, but especially if you play 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, you need someone on the pitch who can actually make everything connect. And in the first half, it was Shipley and Doyle, and you're like, this isn't their game. I don't know what you're doing here, but those two are isolated, outnumbered, and don't know what the fuck they're doing. So Stevenson come on, and I agree with someone. Stevenson didn't have a good game. He didn't have a good game, but what he did was he didn't give Doyle the Kelly outlet where he stood 5 yards behind him. What Stevenson did is he went forward, so it meant that Doyle didn't have an easy 5-yard pass. He had to sort of look forward himself, which made Doyle more offensive than he's been in loads of home games this season, because suddenly his easy outlet wasn't there. It made him think a bit more. Now that, I'm sure that didn't go through Stevenson's head of, I'll play this way because it'll make Doyle do this. I think it's just his natural game is to play further forward. So you're like, that's fine. And then McNulty sort of normally played on the right of a 4-4-2, but didn't really. And then and the other thing, my final thing on the first half, the amount of times we were offside. And you're like, how are you offside? How is Grimmer offside for about the fourth time? You're looking across the line. You stood still. You should be offside on 2 occasions. One, if you've made the run and the ball's late, or 2, you're Darren Huckabee and you were born offside. That's it. The rest of the time, if you're looking along the line, you're onside. If you're not, then you're an idiot. And it was just like the amount of times we were offside. And it's like, that's just crazy. And the second half, to be fair to Jack Grimmer, he's broken one of my long-standing footballing rules of if you're involved and you're shit, the fans will moan at you. If you're not involved and you're shit, the fans will give you leeway. Grimmer is involved all the time, but he doesn't create anything. He doesn't actually achieve anything, but he's involved all the time. And you're like, but he doesn't. He got man of the match, and you're like, but Haynes on the left-hand side, who put in the cross which got us the equaliser, who was a dangerous threat. When he went forward, he was a dangerous threat. Grimmer got in one decent position where he put the ball across, and it probably was. He had 3 or 4 choices. He took that one. I'm not blaming him for the choice he took. It was, it just, McNulty didn't quite get his toe on the end. But you're like, that the amount of times I've seen you at home this season, that's the only time you've ever actually got into the penalty area and done anything.
Didn't Grimmer almost score as well? Am I imagining that? Was that someone else? Someone who hit one just over the bar from inside the box?
I thought that was Stevenson.
Was that Stevenson? Okay, yeah, maybe that was him.
And he's just like, I think Grimmer got the advantage where he's right in front of us. So I think because he gets a lot of the ball, people think he's actually achieving something. And you're like, he doesn't, like... And the other thing which really annoyed me
I think that right in front of really makes a difference, that...
And right at the start of the second half, their player was up against Grimmer, and Grimmer showed him the inside. And the guy went, you're showing me the inside. You're showing me the quickest way to goal. He cut inside, had a shot, and it hit the bar. And you were like, that's just awful defending. Like, if that had been Ryan Haynes, he'd have got fucking hammered for that. Because it was just basic. If you're a fullback, you're taught one thing. Just show them away from goal. Just show them the line. I mean, especially this guy, I think was predominantly right-footed. Don't show him the easiest, the quickest route to goal. You're like, oh. So Grimmer's just, I don't rate, I don't like Grimmer. Grimmer for me is meh. He's just
I think
meh.
the lady does protest too much.
Well, I think it's because, I said he's got man of the match in the last 2 home games. And you're like, really? Just what has he achieved in the 2 home? Virtually nothing. And the last home game, the one before this, where it was like Grimmer's got man, the person in front of us just ran around and went, "Oh, that's a joke, isn't it?" And you're like, so it's not just me who doesn't quite see this Grimmer loving. Okay, I'm just like beginning to get a bit worried that it was just like me rallying. A bit like when we had Richard Keogh, and it was like, yeah, he might win the ball back, but he gives it away in the first place. Oh, this is frustrating. And then Poncelli came on and played all right. We got an equaliser. We were pushing for the win, but I mean, and everyone, Crawley did what I hate to say, but teams do when they're sort of 1-0 up or they're drawing in a place they just want to get a draw from. They were time wasting, they were going down, they were doing, and everyone's booing and moaning. It's like, well, to be honest, that hasn't stopped us having shots. That hasn't stopped us playing well.
Also, we do that all the time.
It's one of those things where it's like every club does it. You've got to get over that. You've got to get that out of your head. You've got to not play to it, because at the end of the day, that didn't stop us. I think the stats were that Crawley had 2 shots on target and Coventry City had 2 shots on target, and Crawley didn't even try and win the game. And that shows, it's like, they still managed to get shots on target, and we were desperately trying to score and we only managed 2 on target. That's where the issue is. Whatever way we look at this, we don't have enough shots on target. And I don't think it is the strikers. I honestly don't think it is. I think we just don't have any creativity at all. I said, if Grimmer was as good at crossing and delivering and decision-making as Ryan Haynes, we'd be in a much better position. But at the moment, now Joe Jones is out, with sort of Ryan Haynes has come through probably at the right time. But it's still, we're just down that left-hand side where the creativity is coming from. And, I mean, I don't know if I explain. Crawley was shit, like truly shit. And they're another shit team who have walked away from the Rico with a pretty comfortable 1-1 draw.
Let me ask you this. How much of trying to put a positive spin on things, how much should we read into the fact that over the last 2 games we've been down and have salvaged points in them?
Yeah, I mean that is good. That there's no denying. However, we were 1-0 down against Crawley.
True, of course. But it just seems particularly un-Cov-like to salvage salvage points in 2 consecutive games. At least it's. I think that's some reason to be cheerful.
Yeah, I mean, there is. It's quite difficult because at the end of the day, you sat there and you don't want to go, it's only Crawley. But it's a bit like if you were a Spurs fan when they draw with West Brom. It's that sort of, you're a top 6 side playing someone shit at home. And someone asked on Twitter, it's like, why is there a negativity around? We're in the top 6, why is there a negativity? And it's like, the negativity is, I went to 5 games the last 2 months and I've seen the score once. And I haven't actually seen a good performance for at least 2 months. Since the first 20 minutes against Crewe when we were brilliant, I haven't seen us play well. And in that time, and again, it's not me going, Forest Green. It's like Forest Green when they came to the Rico, had conceded 20-odd goals away from home and were garbage. And we didn't put them under pressure. That's the problem. It's like, it's not that fun to watch. It's not interesting football. And someone else thought, well, we won every game 1-0. It's like, yeah, if we won every game 1-0, but we don't win every game 1-0, because in a lot of games, we don't score. In the last 9 home games, we've scored 7 goals. It's just, that isn't interesting. It's just not fun to watch. So you've got this negativity. It's just purely the fact that you're not getting any enjoyment out of it. And the other thing is, we're still in the top 6. And it's like everyone said that under Mowbray. And then suddenly we weren't in the top 6. Suddenly we were 10th. Suddenly we were nowhere near the playoffs. and then the season finished, and we'd wasted that season. So I don't want to get in this mindset. We're still in the top 6. I don't care. I want to be in the top 6. I want to be top. I want to be where fucking Luton are. I don't want to be top 6 in the shit division playing Crawley and being thankful we come from 1-0 behind. It's just, and we just don't have, and the Rico is just a soulless place at the moment. Like when there's 6,000 people or whatever, I mean they weren't anywhere near the amount they said on the thing. Crawley bought about 49 fans. And everyone's just like scattered over this one stand, and there's no atmosphere. No one's there for the fun of it. They're just there because that's what they do. Because it's not like under Moby you went. It's like this is actually exciting. Like wheels came up. You were like, I'm watching Jacob Murphy, Adam Armstrong, Ryan Kent, Joe Cole, John Fleck, rah 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 rah. And now you're like, I'm watching Jordan Shipley. I'm watching Vincenti.
Yeah.
I'm watching Stuart Bevan. It's just, they're just not. And the worry is that if the duck goes in January, and if you were Wolves, you'd be like, maybe I can hark him off to a League One club. And but the thing is, but Mark Robbins is proven in the past he can get it right in the transfer window. And it's like, yeah, but you've written off Biamu, you've written off Vincenti. It's like, who signed those players?
To be fair, his record this season has been okay, hasn't it?
It's been okay, but the one creative player we had was already here, and he has to bring in a creative player.
Nason in and McNulty in. We're unfortunately probably running a little bit too long to have this debate again, but I think we'll come back onto it because I do disagree with you quite strongly on this. I think he is unlucky that he brought in Andrew, who got injured straight away. He has brought Jones on in a way that he didn't perform last season, and he's brought McNulty in, who I think is growing into it, and I think the more that we play to him, the better he will do. And he's brought Nason in, who's been a pretty tremendous success so far. I mean, not Adam Armstrong, but very good. But then added to that, he's brought in Kelly, who's played pretty much every single game, Rod McDonald, who's been very good. I think that not all of them have been perfect, but I don't think you can really knock his signings. His signings, given that he's got no money and no scouting network to speak of, well, slightly more than we've had before. I think he's doing a pretty good job there. I think you could ask questions about other bits, but I know that you're obviously entitled to think what you want, but I think he's doing okay.
But surely on the McNulty thing is, I hear where you're coming from. We're not playing to his strengths. Why aren't we playing? Play to his strengths.
Well, and that's the bit where I would say it's Robbins, but that like I say, yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? You can't say, we got this striker in it's like he's too good for League Two, and it's like, well, he isn't showing that. But you've then got to get the best out of him, and he's played a lot of games this season, and you haven't worked out either his best partner or the best way of getting. And at the moment, you're sort of shooing him all into the team on the right wing, which is sort of it clearly isn't where he needs to be if you're going to try and get the best out of him. You sort of the McNulty one, I think it will be basically the McNulty one will be judged at the end of the season by how many goals he gets, which is fair enough because he is a striker. But I think that he isn't playing particularly well, but he's scoring now. Now that's a big difference. The interesting thing is in the next game against Morecambe are truly shit. If we don't get 3
where
points
are they in the
Morecambe,
league?
They're in the bottom 3, and their form is bottomed out. Their home form is horrendous. They're the sort of team. If you're going to get promoted, you've got to go to Morecambe and win, and probably win. 1 or 2, 2 or 3-0. But you've got to beat them because they are dreadful at the moment.
Yeah, they've not won any of the last 4, certainly. Okay, let's put a pin in it there then, unless anybody's got anything they desperately want to fit in before we leave.
I just wanted to ask about the attendance. So I'm a little bit worried about that we're getting. I know our home form's bad and we don't score goals at home, but if we're getting 6,000 and we're in the playoffs and we've won good games against Luton and Lincoln, what? That is really bad for a home attendance, isn't it? Do you think it is just because people are looking at the home performances exclusively and being like, we're not going to score?
Well, I think you've got to remember, and I think it's always difficult when we look at it through our own eyes, because we are sort of people who do go to the away games. You probably have got half the season ticket holders probably go to one away game a season, if that. They go to they live in Cardiff, they go and watch Cardiff in Cardiff, and that's still 23 Saturdays a year or whatever. So that's how they support the football club. There are lots of people around the country who only go to home games, and the home games, like we've got 3 season tickets holders with us who don't come at the moment, and I mean they've got they've got other things going on in their lives, but also the football's boring. It doesn't make you want to go back, and that's and the other thing is, it's like you wouldn't turn around to your mate and go, "Fancy coming to watch Cov today? We've just done this. Come and watch Adam Armstrong. Come and watch us play exciting football." You'd be like, "Come and watch us. We scored one goal at home in 4 games. Come on!" Like, and by the time you got there, it's 25 quid. It's like it's 25 quid to go and watch shit football. What? You don't want to come? You want to watch Soccer Saturday and spend 25 quid on beer?
You're mental.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, yeah. The other thing, and this might be very... Go on, Paul.
Well, no, I think, there is argument for we are still in the top 6. The results aren't going too badly. We're still doing what we're doing, and there are positives about what we are doing, and that's fine. But I think there is still that part of you which is like, football is meant to be an entertainment. It's still meant to be slightly enjoyable. And if you're a home fan, you haven't had, and this isn't Robin's fault. This goes back basically since the Christmas period under Tony Mowbray. I wonder in the last 30 home games how many we've actually won at home, and you go back sort of the last couple since we've been at the Rico, our win percentage at home is probably not 50% every season. It's probably below 50% every season. So it's not even just like, we're shit this season at home. It's like it's been a long trudge, yeah. And the fact the fans hate the owners, and the fact it's 25 quid on the gate, and the fact it's fucking boring, and also the fact that, and I think again you've got to look at it from, we're Cov fans who go to watch Cov. There are Cov fans who want to watch other teams, other players, which is fine. But I couldn't name anyone in that Crawley team. And it's like, so then it's not even like we're playing Crawley. Do you want to come up and watch Crawley? No. Why the fuck would I want to watch Crawley? And you've got that as well. It's just, it is. But even then, 6,000, they were sort of talking about, because obviously Steve Phelps' book and all that, and they were talking about games in the top flight in 1981-82. We're only getting 8,000. So we're sort of, in a strange way, we're not doing that badly compared to where we were like 30 years ago in terms of gates, even though we're at a completely different level.
And I guess not making any progress in the last 30 years is something to really shout about.
Well, yeah. Well, you can't remember when we were flying high under Mowbray, there were 5 of us in my car. Wow, now I'm back down to me again.
Yeah. Okay, right, let's move this on in the interests of time. Some quick notices before we leave. We are very happy to be joined by Jim Brown next week, who's going to be talking about his book, Play Up Sky Blues, Champions 1967. Fire off your questions for him. He's going to be in to talk about that, and he is going to be joining in on the chat of the Boreham Wood game. We are going to add in Dominic's Boreham Wood preview once we've said bye, so keep listening for that. And if you do want a Nii Lamptey Show t-shirt, all jokes aside, they are very reasonably priced. They make fabulous Christmas gifts for people who either love the Nii Lamptey Show or hate the Nii Lamptey Show. And you can find them just by putting into Google Nii Lamptey Show t-shirt. Paul, thank you very much. It's been a delight.
As always.
Laurie, thank you very much. You've been fabulous.
Cheers, Joey.
Thank you for listening, listener, and you will hear Dominic's sultry tones as soon as I say bye.